friends, and thanks for joining me, and I hope you're having a fantastic summer. For me, at least around here, it's been hotter than blue blazes. So it's been a little more difficult to have to get things done, finding ways to exercise and getting things done in the garden and things like that. But fortunately, I've had no houses I've ever lived in, all the time I've been growing up, and even through today, have I ever had a house that was that had central AC. And so I'm really used to it, and there's a lot of different ways that we've used to stay cool without having AC. And so I want to share 40 of my ways to to keep cool without having AC. So one of the most common ways, at least around here, to keep your house cool without having AC is just an evaporative cooler, where a air conditioner uses a compressor and chemicals to cool the air. An evaporative cooler uses a pump and water to cool the air. And so it really makes a big difference as far as how much the unit costs to buy, but also how much it costs to run. So whereas it can be several $1,000s to put in AC and then make a huge difference on your bill, an evaporative cooler may cost, very little to buy and then make almost no difference on your bill because it literally costs just pennies an hour to run. So it's really a lot better for the environment, and it really is an effective method to cool your house. Of course, this method only works in places where there's low humidity, and so I'm fortunate to live in a place where it actually works really well because it's actually pretty dry around here. So many of the houses around have them, and they work very, very well. So I highly recommend it. Evaporative coolers work really, really well. Before I had an evaporative cooler, though, we had ceiling fans, and this was our only method of cooling our house for quite some time, and they actually work really well. They keep the heat around your skin from building up too much and things like that, and so just having the air moving makes the air feel cooler even if it actually isn't. If you don't have a house that has ceiling fans, and maybe you have a rental or something that you can't put them in, just adding additional regular fans around can make a huge difference too. Especially where you're sleeping and things like that. And if you wanted to even kick it up a notch, you can have, like if you have a desk fan or something like that where you're working and you want to have the air that's coming off of it feeling cooler, you can actually set up like frozen water bottles or ice packs and things like that in front of it. That way when the air coming across the water cools off, the air coming across the bottles cools off before it hits you. So it almost feels like a portable air conditioner. It actually works really well, and again, this is a very inexpensive way to cool you, especially since you're going to be cooling just yourself rather than your whole house. So this can really make a big difference on the bills and things like that. Window fans can also be a really good way to help cool the house. We did this also for several years as our only cooling method. We would just open the windows at night and then let the cool air come in, and then in the morning hours we would just shut them and then try and keep as much of that cool air in the house as possible. It's kind of like the opposite of what I do with heating my house with my greenhouse, like I showed you in a video from a long time ago. We just keep the cool in the house as best as we can, and it really works very well. And again, very inexpensive because you just use fans in the windows. Energy efficient curtains is another really good way. They can help keep the heat from coming in, and they also double duty as keeping the cool from the house inside the house from getting out. And these also work in the opposite way in the wintertime to help keep the heat in the house when you want it in. So this can help keep your house more comfortable all year round. So this is really effective and fairly inexpensive. If you don't want to put in new curtains and things like that, there are different types of window films and things like that can reflect the sunlight. Some people just use regular ordinary aluminum foil as a really quick and easy fix. Mylar also works really well. You don't even have to put it on your windows if you want. If you wanted to, you could just put the liner on the insides of your curtains, the parts closest to the windows, so that when the sun's rays come through your windows, it just bounces all that heat right back out, and so you don't end up with, it heating up your house and things like that. Awnings is another good way. Back before our houses had AC, a lot of houses were built just with awnings on the south and maybe the west sides of the house to keep the sun from coming in through the windows, and so that's another kind of old-fashioned way, but it is very effective. So there's another way. If you have blinds instead of curtains and other things like that, just closing those up can also help. In the same way, it just reflects the heat out, so that helps a lot. Sealing the air leaks. Using things like caulk and weather stripping and things like that in windows and doors and places where the air is coming in, the hot air is coming in, can really help keep that hot air from coming in. And again, this is double duty because it's going to help keep your house warm in the winter as well. So very cheap and easy to do, and is actually pretty effective and can help reduce how warm your house feels in the winter or the summertime, and how warm it feels and how comfortable it is just year round. So that can help a lot. So another way would just be insulation. These next few are going to be mainly for homeowners that maybe are in the market for doing some improvements and things like that on your house. Insulation makes a huge difference as far as keeping the warm air in the winter again, and then the cool air in the summer, and keeping all that heat out. It's like a giant blanket you wrap your house in to keep whatever temperature it is in here, the temperature you want it to be. So usually these types of things pay for themselves really quickly, so I highly recommend it. Adding some insulation makes a big difference in comfort level and on your bills. If you're ever in the market to re-roof your house, you may keep in mind that you want to choose a lighter colored roofing, because that'll help reflect the sun away from your house as well. So not many of us get the opportunity to re-roof our house very often, but in the event that we do, keep that in mind and maybe choose a lighter color as opposed to something darker. That can make a big difference. Concrete, brick and stone and things like that also hold a lot of heat. So if you're ever going to be doing landscape projects around your house and things like that, or if you're planning, to build a house and you want to, figure out your landscaping and things like that, keeping a concrete patio from being up against your house, especially at least on the south and the west sides of your house, can make a big difference, because a big concrete patio on the side of your house almost acts like a giant mirror. It reflects the sunlight into your house, and it also absorbs a lot of heat, so it absorbs all that heat from the sun and it holds it right up next to your house, which makes it harder for your house to keep that heat out. So putting your patios and things like that maybe on the north or the east sides of your house can make a big difference as far as what it's going to have to be like to cool your house later. So that's definitely something to consider if you get the opportunity. If you already have a concrete patio or something like that, ways that you can shade it to make it more comfortable would just be to plant trees or vines and things like that to help keep it from getting all that heat and reflect all that heat into your house. If you're worried about those types of plants damaging the patio or your foundation of your house and things like that, one thing you can do instead is just to build an arbor, something, a lifespan made structure, maybe with some shade cloth or things like that, that can make it a more pleasant place to hang outside. And then also, make a big difference as far as how much heat those things attract. So that can be another good way. And then, of course, just different ways to try to keep the heat out of your house in the first place. Using LED light bulbs instead of incandescents. Incandescents make a lot of heat, and so using LEDs, they don't make hardly any heat at all. Makes a huge difference in trying to have your house cooler when you want it to stay that way. Having things like that in our houses heats it up when that's the opposite of what we want to do. So choosing LEDs is going to be a big difference on your electric bills as well, so that can help save a lot of money. So that's a double helpful thing. I personally don't recommend CFLs because they're pretty high in mercury, but LEDs are a really good choice. Unplugging unused appliances and things like that, TVs, VCRs, DVD players, video games, whatever it is, you name it. If it's plugged in and it's drawing electricity, it's also making heat. So having those types of things unplugged, again, will save energy and save on your bills, but it also save on how much heat you're generating in your house. Drying your clothes outside, having a clothes dryer, like in our house it's in the basement, having our clothes dryer running in the daytime or whenever we're using it, it's going to have it to where there's heat building up in the dryer, and then it's going to come up into our house, and of course that's the opposite of what we want. It's going to fight whatever cooling system we're trying to put in place. And so just bringing that laundry outside and hanging it out to dry, especially in this heat, it's going to dry really, really quickly. So, if you want some tips on how to hang your clothes to dry and whatnot, you could check out a video I did a couple weeks ago. No machine clothes washing. It really is pretty effective and helps a lot to help keep that heat out. Cooking outside is another really big way, probably one of the biggest ways that we end up with heat in our house that we don't really want there. So just finding different ways, like having a nice old-fashioned barbecue is not only fun, but it can help keep the house from getting unnecessarily warm. Sun ovens are another really good way. In the summertime, those work very well, so that's a really, fun option also to help keep that heat out of the house. The brick stick stove I just showed you last week, again, is another really fun way to just keep that heat out. And then thermal heat retention cookers, just to do a little foreshadowing, is another really good way to just get the cooking outside. That way we don't have unnecessary heat in our houses, things like that. Drinking plenty of water is really important in the summertime, not only to help combat, dehydration, but also because having enough water in our system helps our body regulate our temperature. So if you need different ways to try and drink some more water, adding lemon or cucumber or mint or things like that to your water can make it taste better, so that you can, make sure that you're drinking a lot of water. And then we can help keep our temperatures regular and stable. And of course, if you want to drink a cool beverage, ice water and things like that, that's obviously going to help a lot too. So avoiding caffeine though. If you're going to be drinking a beverage, try to choose something that has, caffeine in it, because caffeine is a stimulant and it's going to make your system work a little bit quicker and, increase your heart rate and things like that. And that's actually going to make you feel hotter. So, if you could avoid caffeinated beverages here in the summertime, that would definitely help you keep your body temperature, at a nice manageable level. And of course, just eating cold foods. I mean, who doesn't like a nice cold popsicle on a summer afternoon? But if you want other healthy options, frozen fruit also works really well. Some friends of mine introduced me to frozen grapes a while ago, and it was actually really interesting. Just wash them, throw them in your freezer, and they make a really nice treat for the kids too. They're really healthy. So a nice healthy snack. It's cold, and so it's going to be really, fun to eat in the summertime and things like that. And it can also really help keep you feeling cool. So, that's a really good option. A misting spray bottle. These misting spray bottles you can just spray your body with and things like that. Just having that little bit of moisture on your skin can help you feel a lot cooler for sure. And some of them even have fans in them, so put the water on your body and then the fan to help blow the heat away, and it helps evaporate the heat from your body, and this can really help a lot. So misting spray bottles, definitely very inexpensive and very effective if you wanted to help stay cool. Cold compresses, things like ice packs, or you could even make your own with just a sock filled with rice and things like that. And then they actually work in both the summer and the winter. You can put it in your freezer and then use it as a cold compress in the warmer months, and then you can use it, heat it up and then use it in the winter that way. So those things can really be very inexpensive project, and they're also really effective, especially if you put it on the back of your neck. Our body's thermostat, if you will, is in the back of our neck here, and so that's why a lot of people like to keep their hair off of their neck in the summertime to help stay cool. It's because that back of the neck, when it is warm, our whole body feels warm, and when the back of our neck is feeling cooler, our whole body feels cooler. So if you really want a quick way to feel cooler, just stick something cold on the back of your neck, and it really helps make you feel a lot cooler really quickly. So it's a nice relief. Another old-fashioned method would be just a kiddie pool. A lot of people used to just sit out on their back patios and things like that, in lounge chairs or beach chairs or whatever, and then stick their feet in kiddie pools. This works by cooling down our blood, actually. As our blood is circulating through our system, it's going to go down to the feet where it's in that cold water, and then the cold water is going to cool it, and then it's going to continue to circulate through your body. So it actually cools your whole body by just having your feet in that cold water. So make it more pleasant to be outside on a nice warm day, and make it to where you can still enjoy your summer even if it's hot outside, by just having a nice little kiddie pool to dunk your feet in. And of course, just playing in water in general. I mean, there isn't hardly a time when I'm watering my lawn that I don't send my kids outside to go play in it, because I don't hardly water my lawn because I have lots of ways to help reduce how much I have to water it. But anyway, when I do water it, it's a nice fun activity for them to do, just to go run through the sprinkler, and it's also watering the lawn at the same time. Or sometimes we'll go to the splash parks. There are a lot of water parks around in different cities and things like that, or pools. Just getting out and playing in the water is a nice relief to the heat too. So that's definitely a lot of fun, especially for kids. Cool showers. if you feel warm, especially before bed, but even in the middle of the day, if you're feeling warm, just a nice cool shower can make you feel cooler for hours. It can make a really big difference. Wash the sweat off your body and then, cool down your temperature, and it can make things, just make you feel a lot better. So that's another really easy method to staying cool. Natural fiber clothing. Clothing that's like linen or cotton is going to feel much cooler than, say, polyester or rayon and things like that. So just choosing natural fibered clothing can really help a lot. And then if it's a light color, that even it helps a lot more, because light colors, again, reflect heat. Darker colors kind of absorb the sun's heat, and so having just nice natural colored, natural fibered clothing in light colors can make a huge difference on how hot and cool, or how warm or cool we feel. Excuse me. And then less clothing is helpful. A lot of people will choose to wear less clothing in the summer, of course, sleeveless shirts and things like that. But like in desert climates, I don't know if you've ever seen them, but sometimes they'll wear really long, like flowy clothing that goes, all the way to the ankles and all the way to, the wrists and things like that. Well, this actually helps to keep them cool, believe it or not, when they're in the sun, because it shades your skin from the sun. So, less clothing does help, but mainly when you're in the shade, and if you're going to have to be out in the sun, working and stuff like that, covering up can actually help keep you a little bit cooler. And also it can help protect your skin from the sun, not getting a sunburn or, having that eventually lead to skin cancer and things like that. So that can do a double help thing, help you in two different ways there. So a little more clothing in the sun. And then, of course, if you can plan it out to where you're doing your more vigorous activities and things like that in the early morning hours or in the late evening hours, and then saving the heat of the day for mainly just hanging out and not doing, too much and doing work inside and things like that. So if you have vigorous things to do, just try and plan those for, early or late, and that can make a big difference on how you feel. Hanging out in the cooler parts of your house, if you have a basement or something like that, you could go hang out in your basement and stuff, or even sleep in your basement. My husband and I, a few years ago, actually moved our whole bedroom to the basement for the summer and just slept down there because it was so much cooler to sleep. So, yeah, sleeping either in the basement, or if you don't have that option, then even just lower to the floor can help a lot. Especially if you have a room that's high up, if you have the ability to even just put it on the main level instead of the upper level, those types of things can help too. Wearing less clothing to bed, of course, is going to help keep that heat from getting trapped up next to your body. So, there's a little bit of debate as to whether or not wearing less is better, or if wearing nothing is better. Some people say that wearing nothing is good because then there's none of that heat trapped up next to your body. Some people say that by wearing nothing, then of course there's the clothing isn't there to be able to wick the sweat and stuff away from your body, so it actually helps to wear at least a little bit of clothing. So, maybe it's a personal preference, whatever you prefer. Also, the types of sheets and bed clothes that you use, blankets and things like that, if you can choose like nice fabrics that are like satin or cotton and things like that, those can definitely help feel a lot cooler than, say, flannel, which would mainly be better suited for the winter and things like that. Just ditching the comforter altogether. I personally just sleep on top of mine in the summer with a sheet on top of me, and that makes a huge difference. And then if you even want to step it up a notch above that, going back to that misting spray bottle, if my sheets spread out on my bed, just spraying it with that misting spray bottle first and then climbing into bed, it makes a huge difference. Just that little bit of water, nothing that could even soak the comforter underneath it, or let alone the mattress, just enough to cool that sheet makes a huge difference when it comes to how cool the bed feels when I first get in it to go to sleep. And so that can usually feel refreshing enough that I'm able to go to sleep and feel pretty good, for a while. So, just misting that bed just a little bit makes a huge difference. Of course, spreading out makes a big difference when it comes to sleeping. Just being able to get your arms and legs away from your body, helps keep all that heat from, you know, being too close to your core and things like that. So if you have the room and your partner will allow it, if you can spread out in the summer, that makes a big difference. And then of course there's different types of things that people make for beds specifically, like you know, cooling pillows, or, you know, even a more natural option like a buckwheat pillow and things like that can help keep heat from getting trapped in and things like that. And some people choose like a bamboo bed, things that are made out of that. Personally, I think those are maybe a little bit less comfortable. Or water beds. Those can also be ways to keep cool when you're sleeping and things like that. So, you know, different things to try out that way as far as, you know, the bed that actually helps keep you cooler and whatnot. So I hope, you know, at least some of these methods have worked for you, and, you know, maybe can help you keep from getting too warm this summer and able to bear the heat and things like that. And so thank you for joining me, and we'll see you next time. I'm Frugal Green Girl. Thanks for watching.